Welcome back to another edition of Negro Please. I'm your host, Dallas Scott. Co-host is Hollywood Huff over there. We got Quan, the producer. How do you guys feel about The Rock buying the XFL? Nobody cares, apparently.
It's funny because they seem to be having more success than anticipated. You know what I mean? Like this time around. And I was an avid, and I still am really, but I was an avid, like, it ain't gonna work person. Like I'm definitely an XFL naysayer, but they seem to be having my bad, turn my phone down. They seem to be having a little bit of or were having a little bit of success before the entire universe shut down. So
I feel like they had some cool advancements. I really felt like being able to see and hear what the replay officials are saying was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of little things. I even like their whole extra point system where it was, you get 1 point at, I think, the 3-yard line,
right.
2 points somewhere else, and then 3 points.
That could be
somewhere
so
else.
huge in a playoff game in an NFL.
Like any game, like,
right?
You know what I mean? A game
like
that
being
matters,
down by 4 points, like
right.
Like,
You know, so it was a lot of little things like that, and apparently people were watching. Like, you know, it was for what was expected, at least. Like, people were watching. So far they were proving me wrong, and then the world shut down, and then it was only like 2 weeks into the whole quarantine that they decided they were canceling the season and everything else. So
they got like 4 games in 5 games. Quan, you're the bigger sports guy. Did you like it?
I only weigh 203. I barely watched it.
Oh,
I didn't care.
You didn't care either.
I mean, I'm glad The Rock bought it. I want to succeed, even if I don't watch it. But it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it's 5th and 6th string football players.
Right.
They didn't make the NFL.
Right.
I mean, but the fact they get opportunity is dope because a lot of these 5th and 6th stringers are actually really good. They're just not getting the opportunities.
There was a couple quarterbacks too who were like 2nd and 3rd string quarterbacks, so they don't get any playing time, and they joined the XFL. And the guy from Houston was doing, I can't think of his name, was doing really, really well. I mean, in the first game, he had 4 touchdowns passing and 2 running touchdowns. And again, he's not playing against NFL caliber opponents, but at least you can show that you have some athletic skill.
But I think even in that, it's just like in college. Like, you take any college team, any of the big name college teams, and how many NFL players do you have on a team? So sometimes, because I knew a guy, Taylor Stubblefield, and he in college, like at one point, like he held a couple records and all of that. Like, he tried out for the Rams. That's when I met him. I was in St. Louis, obviously, and he ended up being cut from the Rams, not because he wasn't good enough, but because they just didn't need any more receivers.
Right.
So they had him trying out basically as like punt returner, kick returner, something like that. And in the end, they ended up re-signing Isaac to something, and you know what I mean.
Right,
and it's not that he wasn't good enough. It was just
they already had a guy who was good.
Yeah. We already have our guys who are already proven, so we have to cut you. You know, and sometimes it's players like that who end up in the CFL and playing in these other leagues.
There were a couple players in there too who had injuries in the NFL.
Yeah.
So they weren't on an NFL team.
Right.
But now they're healed, so they want to go back and show that they could play football.
Yeah.
I thought I liked it. I liked it better than I like the AAFL. I still like college football better, and the NFL is supreme, obviously. But I thought it had potential, and I feel like they're going to experiment with things that the NFL is going to do.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, they really need to have that, because we also watch those replays, and you're like, how the hell did you call that? Why was that not overturned? Actually listening to the refs and the guy in the booth and the discussion that they're having, you may not agree with it, but you're like, okay,
you can see what they're looking for. I can
see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Well, you may be looking at it like, was it a catch or not a catch? And what they're looking at is specifically, well, was his foot down, or you know what I mean, or this one specific thing, like, did he actually cuff the ball? You know what I'm saying? And that's what.
And so many times in NFL, we don't really get a explanation to why.
You just get a result.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Where do we want to start? Let's start with Ahmaud Arbery first. And this isn't an Ahmaud Arbery story. It's a Roddie Bryan story. Roddie Bryan is the younger of the two that was charged in the Ahmaud. There was the father and the son.
Yeah.
He was charged in the Ahmaud Arbery case, and now he's being investigated for a sex crime.
And this is the guy who was filming it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I said it was his son.
No,
you're right.
yeah,
It's the guy that was filming it that said that this guy's he's gonna be the rat, right? He's gonna be like if you listen to everything this guy said, like he's gonna be the guy that tells. He's already been telling on him, so like he's gonna make a deal and get out of this. But he's being in. They won't say who the alleged victim is, but he's so the local sheriff's department's not going to handle this because they've already messed up a lot of other stuff and they're under heat right now. So they sent it to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and all they're going to say is he may have committed a sex crime because he's being. Would it surprise anybody if he did?
No, of course not. I mean, bro, I went down the conspiracy rabbit hole the other night.
You were seeing,
and
Steve sent me a message. He goes, "Let's just talk about all the conspiracy theories in the world." I was like, "We don't have that much time in the world." Like,
man, bro, I went in the zone, and this whole pedophilia thing, I'm almost scared to talk about it because
it's funny you said that because the other day, we were teaching a CCW class, and we were talking about an incident that happened in pedophilia where the guy in Florida, the judge let him out, so somebody cut off his head and dropped the body and thing. So I wanted to do more research on pedophilia for the show.
Yeah.
But I also felt like I shouldn't be Googling pedophilia. I don't want to be on somebody's like internet watch list. It's a fine line, right? Because I really just want to and I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia kind of like I didn't read anything else, and this is what I was thinking about. So you were in the CCW class last week. We were helping teach CCW class. There was the one girl that sat up front.
Mm-hmm.
She was obviously 21 years old because she's in the class. She has, taken the gun class.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me she was anywhere between 8 and 15 years old, or probably 10 and 15 years old, I wouldn't have questioned it. Like I'd have been like, okay, like she's probably that age. Like but she's over 21, and I was like, I need to see your ID again, kind of thing, because like she just looked like she could have been a kid, and I always wonder why pedophilia, people who are pedophiliacs, like you can find grown women and grown men who look like kids, right?
Yeah,
and who those late developer like.
You know how bad this is? Like what you're trying to do right now is trying to find them a substitute.
Right.
Like a legal, get with an adult who looks like a kid.
Right.
And I feel like the problem is though, is that they want someone who looks like a kid. And I'm not talking like, of course, none of us want to look old or be old. We all want us and our significant other to look young as long as possible. You know what I mean? But we're talking about like why is that 15-year-old and that 12, the stereotypical, because some of these kids develop faster, but the stereotypical innocent child, why is that attractive to a person?
I don't, and so
you know what I mean? Like that's what the part that disgusts me, you know?
And this is again from the Wikipedia page, because again, I didn't want to, it's sketchy on like how much you can actually search for this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And according to Wikipedia, it is it's specifically pedophilia, specifically for people who are pre-puberty, which makes it even worse to me, right? Like that just sound like I don't.
Gosh, dude, like I just want to go raid that island and I just want somebody just give me the green light, like just let me go.
Is there anything on the island right now?
And I mean,
is it like? I mean, Epstein is dead. I mean, Giselle is being.
He signed before he died, he signed everything over to his brother. So all of his properties and things, I would imagine, are at least still there. You know what I mean? Like I would imagine the buildings are there and whatnot. The thing is that this thing is so deep. He was just one part of it.
Right.
Like I feel like we find this one man being connected to all of these people. But this is as I was saying about the rabbit hole, man. Like it's so deep and it's connected to so many folks. You're talking about the prince or whoever of England was like involved, and there was pictures of him with
Queen
a young girl.
Son,
right?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
He's the future king. Like if anything happens to Queen Elizabeth, he becomes king of England. Yes.
So you're looking at all of these things, and then even coming back to basically Roddie Bryan, who is a nobody until him and his buddies kill Ahmaud Arbery. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that just goes viral, right? Like you have to imagine that, dude. We're downtown Vegas right now. I'm willing to bet if we drove up and down these streets, we might pass 2 or 3 houses that have something to do with sex trafficking or child trafficking, or you know what I mean,
Right.
or pedophiles or something. You know what I mean?
There was also a video floating around the internet last week of a young lady, and I think she was at Yale giving a thing. I think it was Yale, and she was talking about that pedophilia is a sexual preference.
Yeah, that was a TED talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it happened. They were doing it at Yale or someplace, one of those Ivy League schools. Like, it's a sex, like.
Nah, man, somebody should have threw an apple at her or something, because I heard that TED talk a while ago, because, it was a big headline, like,
Right.
Pedophilia is this and that. And I'm like, I got to hear what they talking about before I judge. And I listened to her, and I get the point that she's trying to make, which is basically saying that, like, pedophilia is out of that person's control. It's just what they're attracted to, But I just disagree. I think that a lot of, even whether you're straight, gay, or whatever, I still think that, like, there might be some things that are nature, but I think a lot of what we're attracted to can also come from nurture, can also come from society.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't just inherit liking girls with big butts.
Right.
You might, it's possible, but it's also possible you grew up in an area where you and all your peers thought that was attractive. You thought that was sexy. And so hence that's what it is, right? Because you go to other cultures, like you go to Africa, and like bigger, thicker women is what's considered beautiful.
We're going to get to that in a second.
You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because we started this show almost a year ago. In one of our first episodes, we were talking about cultural differences. And I remember specifically saying, who am I to go to an African country or some other country and tell them that their cultural beliefs that they've been going through for 500 years, 1,000 years are wrong.
Right.
So, and other countries don't that have that. I don't think that, I always feel like there's an age that women have to get to before the women, like they don't marry them off at like 8, 9, and 10 years old.
Right.
It's like a puberty type age, and then they become like, I think you have to like be old enough to bear children in a lot of cultures and stuff like that.
Right.
And pedophilia isn't an American thing. Like, it's an all over the world
this
thing.
is and from the beginning of time thing.
Yes.
Like, it's not new either.
Yes. It's I'm glad you said since the beginning of time, because this is me going back to college and talking the Bible. In the Bible, the word homosexual wasn't used until 1946.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't really change it to the popular Bible. That was only the KBB Bible. Mm-hmm. In 1983, when the Germans added homosexuality to their Bible, then it kind of became widespread in the Catholic Bible. But if you go back and read a Bible before 1946, or even one that's not a KBB Bible in between there, when it talks, God doesn't say that man shouldn't lie with man. It specifically talks about men lying with children and young boys. You know what I mean? And then over the years, the translation has changed. But it was specifically, because you said since the beginning of time, like, that was condemned, right? Like, it wasn't like men couldn't have sex with other men. It was men. It was specifically talked about men and young men and boys kind of thing, right?
Right.
So it is something that's been going on since the beginning of time. Something so outrageous that they chose to put it in the Bible that men should not have sex with children, little boys, like, you know what I mean? So it is something that it's like goes on since the end of time. We're talking about preferences, and I have a cousin who's gay, and he posted something. I've been wanting to do this topic for a while. Like, this posted a while back, so we're gonna talk about a couple articles. One's old, yes, I know everybody's talked about it, but the article says, the headline of the article says, "No blacks is not a sexual preference, it's racism." Now I want to go to what's his name? Let me find this dude's name, because I don't know who he is. Which I know he's where's his name? Oh, Kyle Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
He used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. He got on Twitter and he made a comment that essentially says, people are attracted to Jill Scott, emphasizing her name in all caps when he did this. So it's an energy thing. Got it? And by no means she is ugly, but y'all are sexually aroused by her. Because Jill Scott, for those who don't know, R&B singer, big girl, super cute. So we caught hell because people said he was fat shaming and big girl shaming because she's a big girl. Now, this is having a preference. See, like, I don't like little skinny girls. Does that make me prejudiced?
Okay, so here's... Man.
I like women who look like grown women. I don't like women who look like little girls.
Of course, right? Right. And I think you may have two different things where this guy who's talking about Jill Scott, I mean, bro, you cannot prefer a woman who looks like Jill Scott, but
he also came back.
I don't know how anybody is surprised that we all looking at Miss Jill Scott like, hey, that's a fine woman right there. Right. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And he came back and he tried to, he backed off a little bit. He tried to clarify. He's like, he said he used words that weren't great, but basically he's saying that he didn't grow up on Jill Scott because he's young, and he didn't really know that people knew Jill Scott like that and checked for Jill Scott like that. Like,
man, look, you don't have to grow up on somebody to be able to look at them and realize, hey, that's a good looking woman right there. Right. Like, you know what I'm saying? I could show kids today a picture of Sade from the 80s, who she doesn't look much different now.
She doesn't.
But
Sade is like, yeah.
You know, I could show them a picture and they're gonna say that's a good looking woman.
I saw Sade in concert once, and I was in the third row right on the aisle. So it was like in the middle, like right in the middle of the theater.
Yeah.
And she had this like teal, like mermaid looking dress on and stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you one song she sang. I just sat there and I was so mesmerized by how fine she was. Like, I didn't hear anything. I was just zoned out on like all the things I want to do to Sade. Like, it was,
and that's the thing. Like, how do you? I mean, is he just? I feel like when I reading that text, that tweet, you feel like is he just fishing? Like, is he trying to find out like if all his boys think Jill Scott is hot or something?
Right.
Because clearly, looking at her, if this is just a woman walking down the street, okay, you might have a moment of, I'm not really into big girls. You know what I mean? And she's, too big or whatever.
But she's super cute.
But this exactly. Like, if you look at her face, and then if you've ever seen some of these pictures and stuff, it's not like she's walking around with this huge bubble gut and she's just completely out of shape.
And she's actually like lost a lot of weight and slimmed down.
She's got some shape to her. Yeah. Now, again, you may not be into a bigger woman, which is fine.
Right.
But you're not going to look at this woman and be like, nah, she ain't all that. You know what I'm saying? And granted, you are allowed to, though. I mean, you can look at, I don't know who, but like in the 80s and 90s or early 90s, like Janet Jackson, Paula Abdul, you didn't grow up listening to them probably.
Right.
But you see them even now, and it's like, those some good looking women. Like, you don't need Janet anybody
Jackson's
to
like 50-something years old, like 55
dude.
years old. She's like,
yeah. You don't need a cosign to look at these women and go, yeah, they look good.
When I worked for Q100 here in town, we had this inside our studio. There was a picture of Janet Jackson from, I don't know, 20 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And she's wearing like this bikini thing with like this lace thing over it. But you can see that she has a tattoo right on her thigh, right below her waist.
Yeah.
And I've just always been jealous of the guy who put that tattoo there. It's a nice tattoo, but like to get that close to Janet Jackson's vajayjay, like I wonder if he just accidentally touched it or like, oh, I'm sorry, like,
right.
She was like, no, it's okay. Can I touch it again?
But I think it's crazy that people, pick on that. But I think that going back to like the original like topic, yes. I think the two things in those just specific cases are different, but there are a lot of people who have preferences. You can have a preference and not be fat shaming or like ethnicity shaming or race shaming or being prejudiced, so to speak. Because like here's the thing. I know people who are just this thing kind of goes both ways. Like, I know people who have said, I don't date black guys because of stereotypes, because they hold prejudice against black guys. Right. They may not be prejudiced against, like, they don't treat black people any different. Right. They just don't want to date them because of all the things that they think might come with dating a black guy, right?
And there's a lot if you're not black. And, be realistic. Yeah. If you are dating somebody of a different race and you've never, and you've had privilege all your life, then you start dating somebody of a different race, you'll be like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it. Like
you got different struggles for different cultures or different ethnicities.
So like I have white female friends who have dated black guys or date black guys now that didn't date black guys before.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is rough. Like it's harder. They believe it's harder to hold those relationships together.
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that goes on outside of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like you start to see his frustration when things go wrong, like when dealing with police or at a grocery store. And most of the time we try to suck it up, right? We just like, most of us anyway. Like it's just, I try to pick my battles.
Right.
And I'm not going to change you, right? Like you're not going to change. 97% of racist people will always be racist. They'll pass it down.
Right.
To
Yeah.
kids.
There's nothing.
We're never going to get rid of racism. Like, let's just. I mean, as much as
long as evil exists, racism and prejudice and all that will exist.
So I don't expend my energy on that.
Right.
I feel like there's other ways and other things I can do, and I'd actually rather work with kids, so I can show them at a decent age that like black people and minorities aren't here. We can help you as much as other people can. You know,
right.
We're here. You know, and there's no reason to be afraid of us.
Right.
So I would rather spend my energy there instead of arguing with grown people about racism and what and their privilege. But again, I know a lot of people who, and it's not just, and it's white people who have dated Asians and like,
right. Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Or Asians that have dated black, and you become, you don't get a pass, but like you hear people say that all the time. Oh, I grew up with them, so I get the pass. Or I'm dating a black guy or a black girl, so I get a pass. No, but you start to understand,
right,
that it's real.
Yeah,
like,
and I think that goes for all cultures,
right?
You know what I mean? It's when you date someone who's not from the same culture as you, there's a big learning curve. Like there's a lot of things that you need to start being aware of, or that you become aware of because you're dating that person. You'll see it's funny growing up, you would notice a lot of the people who dated like interracially. You would usually either be like, you know, the white person like grew up around black people, so he started dating black women because it's a culture. You know, he was more comfortable around the women he understood. Right. You know what I mean? You also have this thing of everybody always feel like, you know, in every, and I hate using this term like Oreo or something because I feel like it's super derogatory, but you always have that one guy who was in the hood,
Mike.
Yeah, and he just wasn't
white boy Mike.
Yeah, he just wasn't the same as all the, like he was black, but he wasn't the same as like all the other black people. He was just a little different. He just was wired a little different.
I thought you were going to
maybe no. It's all good. Like maybe his parents, he was just around more people, so he was just a little different.
Maybe a little more.
And then you see that guy
experienced in cultures.
Probably, yeah. And then you see that guy grow up, and it's almost consistent or super consistent that guy goes and gets with a white woman, right? Or he had a little bit more privilege. NBA player, all the stereotypes of like black men become successful and date white women, right? Which statistically we've proven is not as true as we thought it was. It's more just a media thing. Yeah. So, but you would see that a lot in cultures like growing up. You know what I mean? So you have there. I mean, there are obviously thousands of reasons a person falls in love with another person. You know what I mean? I don't think a person saying, you know what, I don't have anything. There's no physical attraction with me and this culture of women, right? So I'll use an example. So like Asian women, stereotypically they're smaller, slimmer, right? And if I'm a guy who likes a BBW, you know what I mean? Like I'm looking for my Jill Scott. I ain't gonna find her in Asia. You know what I mean? So it's really easy. Even though,
but it's crazy though, because
living in Vegas,
because once in a while you'll see that thick Asian girl and you'll be like, "Damn, we're
right?"
Like,
you know. No. So and that's what I'm saying. Like, so you're gonna have the exception to the rule, but for the most part, if somebody asks me, like, I'm not really interested in Asian women. It's not. I mean, if I was single, would I date an Asian woman? Like, of course. Like at my age, they're more than just. Don't even start, Quan. like, don't even start.
You got something to add here, Quan?
Yeah, he does.
No, I don't.
but you know, for me, like if let's just say I was single and someone introduced me and was like, "Oh, this is my Asian friend, she's single." Like, of course, I'm an older man now. It's more than just physical attraction.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
But I do understand that sometimes that physical attraction has to be there. You know what I mean? Before you start to give someone that time of day, get to know them and want to be with them. So I can understand a person just saying, "You know what? I'm not into her. She's too skinny."
Right.
It's not about her being Asian. It's just her body type. Does nothing for me.
And that's how
you know
I feel about a lot.
Yeah.
Like I am, and there have been times where I'll see somebody and I'll be like, "Oh, so my goddaughter Trina, she's been on the show before with us." It's funny because like what she thinks is an attractive woman and what I think are an attractive woman are literally like the opposite ends of the spectrums.
Wow. Yeah.
I remember one time we were walking into Walmart and we both walked by the same woman, and Trina was like, "Man, she looks good. I wish I had that type of confidence in her." And I'm like, "Who?" She's like, "The woman in the blue dress." I'm like, "She couldn't walk in heels. She was clumsy as hell. Like, she was wearing the dress wrong to begin with. Like, like to me, she was just not." And Trina, who the other hand was like, "Wow, she's an attractive, confident woman." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But I think that too is like cultural. It's what have we looked for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what have we grown up looking at or deeming attractive?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when growing up, I have never thought less of anyone. I've never been like prejudiced. I never thought like, oh, these people are less than these people or whatever, right?
Right.
But I've always been attracted to black women. Right? I mean, it's just and I don't have an explanation for it other than I'm black. I grew up around black women. All the powerful black women I know are in my family. You know what I mean? And it was so seeing that like that attracted me, right?
To me, I'm attracted to bubble butts.
Okay.
So like, and it's funny because like it's the first thing I notice on a woman, right? Because that's what my physical attraction is.
Yeah.
Like a bubble butt and a really pretty smile. Yeah. Like, and 90% of the time, I don't even realize what race they are until like third, right?
Yeah.
Like first they'll have a pretty smile and I'll look over and see if they got, oh, nice bubble butt. Or,
okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I see the butt first and I'm like, ooh, does she like and I see the front. Like,
and everybody does that.
Right.
Like everybody has a thing. Like for me, it's smile first, right? You know, you see a beautiful smile and you're like, oh, okay.
And it makes, to me, a pretty smile makes somebody cute. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So it's weird because like, I also think that Nigerian women are the most beautiful women in the world because I think their skin is like so dark and chocolatey. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I feel like they're made.
Chocolatey was a good word.
I feel like they were made in the Willy Wonka candy factory. Like it's so smooth and pretty and like
that's what God made Nigerian women.
Yeah. So like
chocolate factory.
It's weird. Like, and again, it's
no, but see, it's weird to you. But then there's somebody else who is like, nah, they too dark.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I don't like their hair.
Right.
Like, you know, that's why I always think like these polls and these posts and stuff are so funny because you can ask 10 women over here, what feature of a man do they notice first? Like, you know, out of 10 women, you'll get 15 answers, you know, their arms, the back, their chest, you know, if they got a beard and this and that. And look, 20 years ago, nobody was into beards. Like, I don't know where the whole beard
hipsters about 5 years back.
I don't know when beards became the greatest thing and No Shave November and so on and so forth. But I don't remember. I like growing up. I never remembered. I don't have any recollection of any woman ever saying, "Oh, his beard. Oh, his beard is so great."
It is the thing.
I love it. You know, and that's why I say like so much of what we deem to be beautiful and handsome and gorgeous is what is constantly blasted in our face on TV.
I have a friend who her name is Leslie, and she talks about her husband's beard, and she loves the smell of it. And I'm like, that just sounds gross to me.
Yeah, I don't.
But that's TV though too, right? Like, so the hipsters came in, they did the beard thing for a few years, but like now, like when you see guys on TV, they have beards, right?
Right.
The first guy that comes is the Joe guy that's married to Sofia Vergara. He was on he's in Magic Mike. He was in
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
But like he was one of those first guys that had a beard on TV. Him and Jason Momoa, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, when Jason Momoa shaved his beard, women were like, "Grow it back now."
Yeah,
right. Go to Hollywood, have them put a fake one on you. So I feel like when people, we talked about this before, not everything is racist, right?
Yeah.
You can say, I'm not attracted. Now, if you said I'm not attracted to the N words,
then we got a problem. Right.
But you're just saying I'm not attracted. Maybe your attraction isn't girls over 5 feet tall.
I think too that a lot of this is, it's very hard to read tone and read emotion and read volume.
It is.
So when you're swiping through, is Tinder the one where you swipe?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're swiping through Tinder and you get to this cute girl you like, because
are you swiping Tinder right? Is that what you're doing right now, Twan? I thought I saw you doing that.
So when you're swiping through, because my homeboy showed me this, and I'm finna give you an example of something my homeboy showed me. Clearly, I'm not on it. So I guess, the profile comes up.
I think his wife is watching the show.
She might be. It don't matter.
He had a bad day.
I'll give you my phone right now, and I'll tell you, Tinder is not on it. Like, dude,
I'll show you how hot I am. Look at this, Stina.
So you swiping, right? And then obviously, like in your profile, it has descriptions. And if you see, no blacks, like capital, I think, because that was in the article, right? Is no blacks was what it said, or something like that, right? It's going to be hard to read that and not think this person is racist. Like, why did you just single out black people here? Right. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you? Do you just want to save time and not have any black people pick you or whatever, or like, why just black? Or do you talk to Mexicans, or what about Asians? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where do we stop? Right. Are you only looking for one thing? Or are you looking for everybody except black people? What if you meet an Egyptian?
Maybe she just heard a lot of stories of black people and she's afraid.
I mean, that's the thing. It could be 1,000 things, but we don't know because it's so hard to read tone. It's text.
Maybe
what
she's
she
afraid
meant.
of being stretched out. Or
I mean, hey, man, not my circus. Look, man, like, I don't know. I mean, it's 101 reasons. It's another reason.
And sometimes it probably is racist, but right, like, I mean, just because it doesn't have to be.
You can't. I feel like everything should be taken on a case-by-case basis. If something gets your attention that much, where you feel like you need to cry racism or cry hate or cry whatever, I think before you start crying to everybody on how this person, place, this company, these people are racist, if they've hurt you that much with what they said and did, there needs to be an investigation before we go and cancel people. You know what I mean? If you have a problem, like, to me, so using this as an example, if I'm scrolling through and I come across somebody that says no blacks, right? Do I really want to invest time and energy into telling everybody how racist this person is and how messed up they are and all of this? Or do I want to just swipe the other way and get them out of my face? You know what I mean? Like, because for me, if you're racist, I go be racist. Just don't be racist around me. I don't need to fix you. It's not my job to go fix every racist person and every racist thing.
I say that all the time. That's what I'm talking about. Using my energy for something else.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be times when we fight. There are going to be times where we got to stand up for justice. Yada yada yada. Right? It don't have to be every little thing. Like, just because somebody does. Everybody wanted to boycott Starbucks because they said they wouldn't allow the Black Lives Matter, slogans or whatever on any shirts. Right? Are they talking about Black Lives Mattering in general, or are they talking about they don't want to be associated with the Black Lives Matter organization? Nobody knew. We all of a sudden boycotting Starbucks. The very next day, though, Starbucks is like, look, not only are we going to allow you to wear Black Lives Matter stuff, we're going to make it part of the uniform.
We're gonna
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll make it for you. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, dude, we don't have to cancel everybody for everything. And at the end of the day, for black people, what was the better result? Boycotting Starbucks or now supporting them because everybody who goes there is going to have to read a T-shirt that says Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? So, goodness, man, we don't got to cancel everything.
You and I have this conversation all the time. And the conversation is, what could somebody say to you to make you so mad that you feel like you have to shoot them?
Ooh.
And outside of, I'm going to kill you, and honestly, let's be honest, 90% of people who say that are just running off at the foaming at the mouth, and as soon as the actual altercation comes, they want to run away. And the reason we're bringing this up is because Hey, it's Florida. Nothing ever weird or crazy goes on in Florida at all, right?
Yeah.
So this man, I don't even like. His name is Kelvis Rodriguez Thomas. His girlfriend was at Burger King. You know, she decided it was taking too long for her to get her food, and she's mad. And first of all, anybody who's mad right now during COVID that your food is taking too long at the drive-thru or anywhere else when you know pieces are half-staffed and they can only seat every other table and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Leave people the fuck alone. They're just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be slow. Like they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Right.
I went to play bingo last week. This girl stood in line for 20 minutes to get to the counter, to order her food, and then go crazy because the girl at the counter told her it was going to take 15 minutes. You stood in line for 20 minutes watching everybody else take 20 minutes to get their food, and now you think it's going to be different for yours? Yeah. Same thing happened in Florida, except it got worse. This woman, it doesn't give her name, which is surprising.
Yeah.
She gets mad, goes and yells at the manager of Burger King. Manager gives her back her $40. That's a lot of Burger King, by the way.
Yeah, how did you get $40? I'm always trying to figure out, how did you order $40 worth of Burger King? What was you ordering? And why would you not expect $40 worth of Burger King to not take a while?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
$40 worth of Burger King is when you're high.
Right.
Probably, yeah.
And you buy way too much, you're high, you drink too much.
You start buying the pies, extra onion rings.
I had one single dude I took to the Del Taco drive-thru, picked him up at Green Valley Ranch, 3 a.m, definitely drunk. Ordered enough, no lie, ordered enough for 8 people. Not even joking, and it was only for him. It was only for him.
Oh man.
So she gets mad. She has exchange with the employees. She says, "I'm gonna go get my man." She goes and gets her man. Problem is, her man comes back. He gets into a confrontation with a 22-year-old guy that works there. The kid's name is Desmond Joshua. They get in a fight. He has a kid in the headlock. Some other person breaks up the fight. This guy goes outside to his car, grabs a gun, comes back, and shoots Desmond Joshua. First of all, we're talking about Burger King.
Yeah. Burger
King. There's not as many Burger Kings as McDonald's, but there's Burger Kings everywhere, right?
Right.
It's not like it's the health. We all know it's not healthy food, right?
Yeah.
You know what if you're going to a fast food restaurant, you know what you're getting, right?
Yeah.
I don't like. How do you get so mad over Burger King?
I mean, how does this even escalate? Like,
that's right.
like as a
she drove home to get him.
Saying.
So all the time she's driving home, nothing rational clicks with her. She's driving back to Burger King. Nothing rational clicks. They're going to go fight these people in Burger King.
And they already gave her the money back. So at this she's still hungry. She still ain't got nothing to eat. Why?
So maybe she's hangry. I mean? That's why she couldn't let it go.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, she was a little hangry. Yeah. It's all. I feel this is the ignorance and
life for Burger King. We talk about this all the time. How we devalue human life here in America.
Right.
This is devaluing human life.
Right.
$40 worth of Burger King cost this 22-year-old kid his life.
They left. Nothing rational clicked in her head. The drive home, 5, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it took her to get home. She went and told her boyfriend, who apparently waiting a long time for food and then being refunded because you didn't want to wait anymore was unacceptable. That he had to go and fight somebody because this happened. That right there is already just ignorance.
Yeah,
flowering, right?
Now this guy does have a record. Like he was in prison before for selling drugs.
Okay.
And so he's a felon with a gun now. So that's another charge. They have him.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things they're charging him with. It doesn't, I feel like, and I can't find anything in any, I've read 2 articles about it. She needs to be charged too, right? She's the instigator of this, right? And she was the one that decided that Burger King was worth my man coming up here.
Yeah.
And fighting.
Well, what did she tell him?
Huh?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's what I really want to know. What did she tell him? Because obviously I'm a little more level-headed and rational than this dude, but I can't, I mean, other than like my wife coming in the house saying, I went to Burger King and XYZ happened and they gave me my money back and then the manager punched me in the face.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine any story outside of that I'm grabbing my gun and going to Burger King.
But
you know what I'm
going to call the
saying?
police, aren't you?
Probably. Yeah, I'm going to call the police. Like, hey, my wife just got punched in the face at Burger King.
Right.
You know what I mean? Meet me at Burger King.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm finna go punch this guy in the face. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I can't imagine what happens. And then they go fight, and then he tells the guy, you got 2 seconds to get out of here. I'm finna get a gun and shoot you. Yeah. You know, and it's dude's at work. Where's he gonna go?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
He's trying to pay bills.
Yeah.
22 years old at Burger King.
This is, I don't know. It's bizarre, man. It's Burger King. I tell everybody who lives out here, life is better out west, right? The further east and the further south you go, the crazier it gets. And Florida is proof of that because everything wild and crazy happens in Florida.
You want to do something crazy? Just go put your birth date, like my birthday is May 13th, put in like May 13th, and then type Florida, man.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll show you all this like crazy stuff that happened on your birthday throughout the years in Florida. And it's not like one thing. Like it'll be just list of like.
Florida, man, is a whole thing, dude. Like you are. I can't imagine. I mean, for as great as South Beach is, man, I love the beach. I love the water. It's warm. I mean, it rains for like 30 minutes every day and just spots here and there, and it clears up. Weather's nice. I love the beach in Florida. But outside of what is South Beach or Miami Beach, I feel like the rest of Florida and Disney World, you can save Disney World and all these little amusement parks, but it's like the rest of Florida is just like some wild bizarro land. Man. It just dude. Is anything good? Like, when's the last time we heard some good news and they was like, yeah, this happened in Florida? Like, just pictures from Disney World. That pictures from South Beach.
It's got to be like a Powerball winner or something.
Yeah,
right?
Somebody won Powerball.
Right, like I can't think of anything I've seen.
Gosh, dude, who wins the Powerball?
In probably 5 years that's been, oh, yeah, that was that cool. I mean, Florida even messes up presidential elections. I mean, leave it to Florida just to mess anything up or something up.
That's what they do.
Jonathan Isaac.
Oh,
I find this funny, and I find it funny for a lot of reasons. He was the one player who did not stand or kneel or wear a Black Lives Matter shirt before the NBA games during the national anthem. There were some guys who stood but wore the Black Lives Matter shirts.
Right.
Like so Jonathan Isaac is 22 years old. He's an ordained minister, and he said that he didn't do this because he believed God told him not to do it, which is fine. You have your religious beliefs. So Jonathan Isaac is playing in the game.
I'm sorry.
He's laughing over ACL.
It is not funny.
He's laughing over a torn ACL.
And I'm torn.
So so now he tears his ACL in the game.
Oh goodness.
So does that mean he wasn't listening to what God said and he did something wrong and God is punishing him now? Or like, was it just pure coincidence? Or is the devil punishing him for listening to God?
I mean, here's the thing, man. Look, were you just sitting at dinner or sitting around in the NBA bubble eating your chicken nuggets and a little dove flew in the window and was like, don't take a knee? I mean, did you really go in? You really telling me as like a Christian, you went into really deep prayer about if you should take a knee or not, and you felt like God answered and said to stand? I mean, some of the, like, I'm past the whole kneeling thing. Like, I feel like everybody has already shown who they are. Like, a lot of this is just ceremony. So if they stand or not, whatever. Like, you know, I can see where some guys are kind of, they're making a statement and then they do what they do and they're choosing to do whatever. And I'm fine with that. Everybody doesn't have to take a knee. Like, we're past kneeling, you know what I mean, at this point. But it's like, come on, dude. Like, really, you just going to use, like, to me, it's just the ultimate cop-out. Right. There's no explanation. It's just, well, you know what? I'm just following the Lord, and he told me to not kneel.
The Lord.
You know what I mean?
He
And
came to me in a vision.
I keep
He
laughing
showed
because
me the way of everybody else.
it's so many like just like jokes and little puns that I just
whenever I hear
kept
people say
coming up
this,
with, but
like,
yeah,
oh, the Lord
just-
told me. So again, like, I'm a pastor. My dad's a pastor. My cousins, my uncles, like, so many pastors in our family.
Yeah.
I find it funny when people say, "Well, the Lord told me," because every time I see that guy, I gotta look his name up. His name is Kenneth. He's the pastor.
Kenneth Copeland,
Yes.
who's blowing out the Rona?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
That dude. Every time somebody tells me, "Well, God told me to do this," that's the guy I think of.
Yeah.
I feel like they're this charlatan preacher who's out there at the pulpit blowing his hurricane breath,
Yeah.
and he's curing COVID in the world because God told him to. By the way, that was like 2.5 months ago.
Yeah.
COVID is still here, brother. Like,
Yeah. And that's the thing is I don't have a problem with anybody being led by God to do anything, but I have a problem with people who use God as a cop out.
right.
You know what I mean? Or they try to blame or say that, you know what I mean? Like bro, come on, man. If you don't want to kneel, then don't kneel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You're right. You're like,
don't make it.
right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Don't make this a whole like religious and try to, get backing and support from Christians and all of this. No, bro. Stand on what you believe or don't believe. If you want to stand. Nobody's gonna.
I say this
fight
all
you
the
about
time.
that,
about people racist people, right? If you're gonna be
Yeah.
racist, just be racist. I have much more respect for you because that's what you believe and that's who you are, and stand by that. But when you say racist things, and you're like, "Well, no, I'm not racist. I have a black friend. My brother's girlfriend and sister is black." Like that to me is cowardly because
Yeah.
you're using something else as a cop out. Just be who
And
you
then
are.
the other player, I can't think of his name, the white guy who stood.
Yeah.
And he wore the Black Lives Matter shirt, but he stood during the anthem, put his hand on his heart, did it, and he said, he couldn't in good conscience take a knee because of his family. They're in military. This is why I come from a military family, yada, yada, yada.
But he also, in his conscience, felt like he should support the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Right.
In his way, right? He wore the shirt. He was with his team. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to the other guy where I feel like people.
I want to say, like, when you see these players and stuff wearing these Black Lives Matter shirts, this is for the movement, not the organization.
Right.
And I think that people way too often get the two things confused.
Very, because, and I wish that we would change the name of one of them because
Black people matter.
Yeah, Black people matter.
Right.
How about that, right?
I want to buy the domain name. It's $3,500 if you guys want to go in with me.
Why not?
The domain name?
BlackPeopleMatter.com.
Black People Matter?
$3,500.
Wow.
We
Did
should.
you already try? You missed it at $9.95 on GoDaddy?
Yeah. I looked it up yesterday.
Because a lot of people, they hear Black Lives Matter and
they think
they automatically think the organization and all the things they hate about the organization for whatever reason, and then they want to shut down whatever the people are doing. But this goes back to what I always say is, if you would listen to the people and what they're protesting and what they're actually doing it for, they don't really care about the company. They're talking about actual black people, actual lives mattering. Like, that's what this is about. And so I don't, any
For
player.
everybody?
Hmm?
For everybody?
What
Because the Black Lives organization is huge. Black Lives Matter organization is huge.
No.
So to say that
I'm not,
nobody,
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying nobody altogether. Let me clarify, because
so that's the problem. Because a lot
It's
of
like
these
saying-
people,
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of these
yeah.
athletes have donated to that organization.
so there are a lot of people who do that, but I think for the most part, I guess I'll say, they're talking about black people mattering. And there are some who obviously look. Black Lives Matter organization has raised over $1 billion. There are clearly people who are donating to that organization, and who knows where that money's going or what's happening. So to those people, that's one group. But I think the issue is that it all gets lumped together anytime people see the slogan Black Lives Matter, or they hear the chant Black Lives Matter. And for anybody who shoots down the protester who says Black Lives Matter, before you shoot him down, clarify, are you shooting down the idea that black people matter, or are you shooting down the company? And find out what that person is protesting before you shut them up or shoot them down, because you could be going against people and not a company. And that's, in essence, the biggest issue that we're facing.
Harrison, Arkansas. Great video going around the Facebook. Apparently, it's the home or near the home of the KKK.
Oh yeah.
This young dude, his name is Rob Bliss. He went outside of Walmart and just holding a sign that says Black Lives Matter. And he posted the video on social media. It's actually on our our Negro Please Facebook page. Check it out.
Yeah.
And it's essentially like all these white people in Harrison, Arkansas driving by. What, our lives don't matter? You're white. Why do you care if Black Lives Matter? My favorite is the guy who says, I'm coming back in 10 minutes and you better not be here. Like he drove by,
yeah.
came back.
He got a handful of threats. He got some, you gonna end up in the hospital with a sign like that. You're white, you ought to have some pride in your own people. And it was a handful of threats.
Why
too.
can't he have pride in being white and believe that Black Lives Matter? Like, why can't you do both?
Because, man, ain't no logic in racism, man. These people, man,
These people?
This is, or when I say these people, I'm about to tell you exactly who I'm talking about. The Ku Klux Klan and all of their followers and all of their supporters and all the people who sympathize with them. They are the longest running terrorist organization in history. And they are allowed to do business here in America on American soil and not be bothered or disrupted.
Somebody told me, several people actually told me, it was on a Facebook thread, that the Ku Klux Klan is not an active organization.
I can't tell. They handing out flyers like nobody's business. They stay recruiting.
The FBI has showed how they've infiltrated things like police departments and like stuff like this.
Right.
You don't think they're active? Because they've remember, this organization's been around since the beginning of this country.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they became an official organization. I don't want to say the wrong year, but 18 something.
Yeah.
But well over 100 years.
Right. And before that, they just weren't an official. They were there. They just weren't
an official organization, but they are. And I mean, and everybody knows what they stand for. Ask anybody, what is the KKK? And if nothing else, they can tell you, yeah, they don't like black people.
Right.
You know what I mean? The sickening part is that the KKK have also assaulted, attacked, killed, murdered even white people.
Yeah. Who
associate with black people.
Jews. So they don't like, I mean, if you're Jewish,
you know
or if you're not purebred white American, which I really don't understand what that is, but if you're not that, I mean, they've been known to kill Jews and other, Caucasian ethnicities.
And you have a large concentration of these people in this town that are so thick they can just roll up on people, make threats on camera, and nobody cares. Right. Nobody does this.
Joanne's making a good point in the comments. Like, just because there's a lot of white supremacist organizations, just because they don't call themselves the KKK,
right,
doesn't mean they're not KKK. Like, because KKK to me is a broad term, right?
Right.
Yes, there's the group. Maybe it's like Black Lives Matter. There's the group, and then there's all the white supremacists. It's the same thing, right? You believe in the same thing, the KKK.
It's a little different than Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
The organization is horrible. The meaning is good.
Right.
KKK, they're both dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, are you sure? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I can remember being told about the KKK, like, when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
5, 6 years old. I used to work in Natchez, Mississippi. I ran 3 radio stations down there, and our station was kind of like this little road, but they called it an alley, and then go like 500 feet down and just open up to this big lot, and the stations was there. But on the corner, like when you would come out the driveway, there was this bar, and one day I was just gonna go in there and grab a beer because it was just a long day at work, and I needed a beer. And my boss was like, "Oh, you can't go in there." I was like, "Why not?" He's like, "Oh, it's a private club." I was like, "Well, I'll pay for a membership. I'll probably come here more often." It's just right here.
Down the street.
And he's like, No, you don't understand. You can't buy a membership here. I can. You can't.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, and this was 2000. So like, it wasn't that long. Like, it still exists.
Think about, okay, so how long does it take for a person to prove that, like, hey, this organization is bad? Like, how How long did the Black Panthers exist? Like look that up. From the start of the Black Panthers till when basically the FBI shut them down, right? And the Black Panthers, with the exception of a handful of members who did a handful of things, because when you get 1,000 people together, of course, 4 or 5 of them gonna act a fool, right? But your organization, the KKK, has been known for one thing since its inception: recruiting more white people to hate people who ain't white.
From 1966 till 1982.
Okay, so from 66 to 82. We'll give it 20 years, okay? It's not even 20 years.
16 years.
16 years, okay? It took them 16 years to decide, oh, the Black Panthers need to be shut down and stopped.
No, it didn't.
But it took them less than that time to figure that part out.
3 days, right? But they just couldn't do it.
They just couldn't do it, right? I am 40 years old right now. I've been on this planet 40 years and some months, right? Since my birth, the KKK has had a track record of terror, rape, maiming, and murdering people of color. Since I've been here, past my birth, nothing has changed.
Right.
They have not become the #1 toy drive, the #1 like donator to the Salvation Army.
But see,
they haven't changed their rep to be anything good ever.
That's what somebody tried to argue with me in this thread, was that Black Lives Matter doesn't actually do anything for the Black community. And apparently they think that the KKK and some of these white nationalist groups do. And my comment was, well, the Black Panthers were doing that, right? Like the Black Panthers were feeding school kids. They had after school programs. They had before school programs. They were taking care of the community. But you didn't like that.
Basically, the WIC program that the whole country benefits from today was what the Black Panthers were doing for the Black community, right? And look, it's not like the Black Panthers just decided, you know what, we're going to take care of Black folks and not white folks. No, this was a time when white folks were taken care of. But those same government assistant programs, those same things that would help them, they were denying Black people.
Right.
So these Black people got together on their own and said, you know what, we'll do it.
But any organization can start off good and be twisted for
course
bad.
The Bloods and the Crips started off as great organizations, and then they changed
Christianity.
Right?
I mean, things start off for the right reason,
and that's
other people will come in,
and that's why
they're the ones that turn it to something that it's not supposed to be.
But that's why I say, like, when you look at the Black Panther organization, yes, there were some members who did do some illegal things and some bad things. A lot of those people went to jail or were killed by cops or whatever it may be, right? But the organization as a whole, it's the face of the organization was still a positive.
Right.
The KKK has never been that. They've never been a positive. They've never had a point where they were doing such good for the community that now there's an argument on if they should be dismantled or illegal.
They definitely helped out with bleach sales.
Yeah.
So that's one positive in the community.
So do you think Clorox is behind the
rise? Clorox could be.
That's their backing that's keeping them alive in our country.
I think this is funny too, and it kind of goes with this KKK thing here. So back to Jonathan Isaac, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, his jerseys are selling through the roof right now. Like, he's got the #1 selling jersey today in the NBA because of this, which I find ironic because I feel like these same people buying this black kid's jersey were the same people burning Colin Kaepernick's jerseys and shoes.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you might have a handful of, like, I feel probably some Christian supporters who are like, oh, he stands for God above all things. And it's just, come on, man. You think he's the only Christian in the NBA? Like, really? I don't know. Everybody's in such a rush to join a gang. Everybody wants to be affiliated with something. And so they just begin to support everything that looks like, smells like, maybe kind of tastes like, resembles a little bit of the thing that I represent. So I'm going to be a part of that. Like, it'll blow my mind if we find out in 2 weeks that this dude, like, tests positive for cocaine and was in the strip club with Lou Williams or something like that.
Right.
And God bless him if he wasn't, because there are a lot of Christians who are straight up Christians. They just, not into that. People who are not Christians, not into that. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but it's funny how we'll look at one little situation like this and somebody make one good PR speech and all of a sudden everything goes through the roof in their favor.
So I'm looking at this thing about the KKK. This I didn't know. We talked about their primary targets are African Americans, but we also talked about Jews, just about any other immigrant, Asian, Mexican, that comes to this country. Leftists, apparently people who are just too liberal, homosexuals, and until recently, Catholics. I didn't realize they had a thing against Catholics. There's a lot of white Catholic people out there.
Yeah.
I'm just there were 3. I didn't know this either. There were 3 different existences of the KKK from 1865 to 1871.
Mm-hmm.
Then they disappeared. Then they came back from 1915 to 1944. They disappeared for 2000, and the third Klan started in 1946 and is still present. All of this stuff that they consider properties of are what we consider these other white nationalists, white separatists,
Yeah.
anti-immigration, anti-communism. Like, these are all of the things that the KKK is against
Mm-hmm.
and who they are. But we seem to think that because the group is called a white supremacy organization or a white national organization,
Yeah.
it's not the KKK, but it is. It's just an off branch
Yeah.
of what they're doing.
That's all it is. They share the same beliefs. They just didn't join the club the same way that the original Klan members
Right.
joined the club. They started their own, right? You see it the same thing. That's why you have like, you know, the Rolling 60 Crips, the Rolling 20 Crips. Like, you know, it just depends on what block you from. That's all it is. It's just where you joined up. Oh, I got to go through all these loopholes to join that KKK. Oh, well, I'm gonna start my own over here. But they all believe the same stuff. They all believe the same thing. If their victims, if the majority of their victims weren't black people, the KKK would be gone years ago, decades ago.
I'm just reading some of this stuff here. The original was founded in Tennessee, Pulaski, Tennessee. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm. They're all over the country, man. We've had former presidents be members of the KKK.
Governors, police officers.
That's so sick, because you could be president and a former member of the KKK, and that's public information.
Right.
But then if I say the president's racist, people are like, "Oh, there's no way we can have a racist president." Like, really? Come on, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for checking out Negro Please. I'm Dallas Scott. That's Hollywood Huff. Quan, the producer. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Everything is The Negro Please. We will see you guys back here next Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks for watching.